she removes the goat cheese in their forms that are draining inside the large pot. The goat's milk comes from 3 different milkings and is heated up right inside this pot, where the rennet is then added to coagulate the milk. When the milk has coagulated, the curds are cut and then scooped into these plastic forms. The cheeses are turned regularly, as you will see in a minute, and the whey drained. Oh, there are the goat cheeses in their plastic forms, and there is the whey at the bottom of the pot that is drained out from the cheeses as they dry. So now, once all the cheeses are out of the pot, she then dumps the excess whey out. And then this whey will then go to the pigs. Once the whey is drained, then the cheeses need to be turned inside their forms for another time to continue the cheese draining process. On the day that the cheeses are made, they are turned every 3 hours. Here is the first cheese cave. The temperature is kept at 9 degrees Celsius. We turn on the light and open the door, and once the light comes on, you can see that inside are many different cheeses, but mostly pecorino or sheep cheese. They're the larger cheeses, and pecora is the Italian word for sheep. Once the cheeses are made, they are placed in the cave and labeled with their date that they were made, as you can see there. That tag shows that these cheeses were made on April 9th. The cheeses will receive a saltwater wash every other day to help create a rind and to help dry out the cheese. The formaggi pecorini, or goat's cheeses, will only be in this cave for 10 days and then will move to another cave. Other cheeses, such as this caprino morbido, or soft goat's cheese, is also in the cave. And beside that is this pecorino con pepe, or sheep's milk cheese with peppercorns. The peppercorns are added in with the curds, and before the curds are ladled into the cheese forms. Il Casale also makes pecorino with walnuts and pecorino with tartufi or truffles. Here are small fresh goat's cheeses. Because Il Casale has many fewer goats than sheep, there are fewer goat's cheeses and they tend to be more of the fresh variety. These ones here are large pecorino cheeses. The second cheese cave contains the more aged cheeses. It is kept at a slightly warmer temperature at 13 degrees Celsius to promote mold growth. So we turn that off and turn on the lights. We can go on in and take a look at the cheeses inside. You can see that these cheeses are much more different than the ones in the other cave. Many of these cheeses have a layer of mold on their rind. Many things, however, are still the same. The pieces of paper hanging from the shelves contain the date that the cheese was made. There is semi-stagione, or semi-seasoned, a cheese that is more of a dense table cheese, and stagione, the harder cheeses. The orange color of these cheeses is from a bacteria in the air that is only out in the winter and early spring. Once the weather becomes warmer and the bacteria becomes dormant, the farm will no longer be able to produce this particular type of semistagione pecorino. A close-up look reveals the different types and colors of mold that are growing on the cheese. If you can see, some of the molds have begun to grow a hair, and this means that it is time for the cheeses to receive their saltwater washing. Another shelf reveals cheeses that were recently placed in this second cave and are just beginning to grow mold. The mold will give the cheeses that nice earthy flavor. The formaggi pecorini down below have just been brought over from the first cave and have not started to form a moldy rind yet. The fun thing about cheeses is, like a laboratory, you can experiment. In these two terracotta barrels are pecorini in fieno or hay. The humidity inside allows the sweet scents and flavors of the hay to penetrate the cheeses nested inside. In the box next to it is Vinaccia, a type of pecorino nestled in spent wine grapes. These cheeses were made on March 4th, and here you can see the cheeses covered in the little grapes. Again, because it is humid inside the box, the cheese takes on the flavors of the wine grapes. These cheeses have mild notes of wine, and although they have been aged, have an acidic flavor like that of fresher cheeses because of the wine grapes. And here we see her washing the cheeses with salt water, wiping off the extra mold, and creating a harder rind and a drier and more flavorful cheese.